Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the online event From Mourning to Light. I'm your host, Sadie Beyl, and I have with me a very different speaker today. And the reason he's different is because he doesn't actually work in the grief space. So I'm honored to welcome Michael Tessalona. Michael is a Tedx speaker, and he has spoken on grief and compassion, even though he doesn't actually work in the space. He is also the founder of PM Now, which is an online marketing company. And Michael would like to talk to us about grief surrounding when he lost his sister. But then he's also going to talk about the grief of divorce. And I know that there's a huge debate out there. A lot of people feel that divorce grief is not as traumatic as death grief, the death of a spouse or the death of someone very close to you. But let's hear it from Michael. Let's hear what Michael has to say about that. So Michael, welcome to this online event. Thank you for giving us your time. And let's jump right in. Let's talk about your TED Talk. What compelled you to go and give a TED Talk on grief and compassion?
Yeah. Well, Sadie, thanks for having me. It's been great speaking with you up until today. And actually something I'd mentioned in the TED Talk was, I'm not really the person to, be talking about grief or compassion. I never thought that it was going to be anything that I had, I guess no one hopes or wants, something like grief to be, an area in which they have, a fair amount of experience. But, my sister had passed very suddenly in a car accident when she was 29 years old. I was 30 and at the time, and it was, it just led me on a journey. And I felt very much like an other in society, because I was experiencing how, grief sometimes and trauma and tragedy really get swept under the rug. It's something that we all experience. It's ubiquitous. Everybody will go through, unfortunately, something like this at some point in their lives. And it was, for me, it was kind of shocking how something that everybody experiences, that we were as a society, in my experience, everyone was so clumsy around. And so, part of the motivation for the TEDx talk was to hopefully alleviate maybe some of that clumsiness, maybe give people some tools about ways that they could handle a person who is grieving, who has had a traumatic loss. And just the other day, I mean, this was, I lost my sister in November 25th of 2015. And, just the other day I was running and I was remembering this person who just treated me so kindly. After, shortly after she had passed, I was part of this networking group, this business networking group. And I remember there was this guy there and he put me on this hug only policy where every time he saw me, he would just give me a hug and look, I mean, maybe for everybody that isn't great, I don't know. People have different experiences and, different meanings that they assign to things. But for me, that was just so compassionate. And it really almost moved me to, I'm still kind of like still, all these years, it's moving me almost to tears because, just how beautiful it was. And I felt so thankful and so grateful for somebody to be able to do that and put me on that policy. And, because you just get kind of tired. My own experience, I was so tired of people just asking me, hey, how are you? How's it going? And like, I don't really want to get into it after how many months, but it's still there. And for me, a hug was just such a beautiful sign of, it was like an acknowledgement of what I was going through. And it was a signal that they were there for me. I felt cared for, I felt supported. And at the same time, it wasn't, it didn't, I don't know, sometimes words aren't even the best way to express things.
That is so beautiful, Michael. I think that's a message for people listening, that just give a hug. You don't have to say anything. I love that. It's so simple. And then you spoke about the black armbands. Where did that come from? Can you give us a little bit of insight into what you thought about that?
Yeah. So my family, we have a annual tradition. We'll watch It's a Wonderful Life around Christmas time. And so my sister had passed right before Thanksgiving. And so it was a month later, we're watching this movie. And I noticed that George Bailey, his father, passes very suddenly. I think he had a heart attack in the movie. And in the very next scene, George is in like a boardroom, and I noticed he was wearing a black armband. And it was something I'd never seen before, even though I'd seen the movie, a dozen times. And I immediately knew, like, oh, I get it. This was a signal of mourning. And I, I just started like researching it. And, I realized, like, oh, wow, there was just an entire tradition of, mourning jewelry, mourning clothing, and, other artifacts like armbands. And it was, another thing. When I saw it, it rang as compassionate, because it was a signal, an outward signal of like, hey, this is what I'm going through. This is what I'm feeling. And, again, I don't think that this is for everyone. I know that everybody's experience of loss it's very unique. It's uniquely tragic, uniquely painful. And, some people, I don't know, maybe they'd be turned off by something like that, or I don't know. But for me, it was, I just didn't like going through the day to day feeling like, it was so bizarre when you're grieving, because your inner world has changed so much, and yet the outer world just continues marching on. And it seemed like those were such such odds against one another. It was such like a difference, a stark difference, that it seemed to me that there needed to be just some expression that I could have on the outer world, letting them know of like what was happening
Without actually having to say anything. By
Yes.
just having that black armband, everyone will see it, everyone will feel compassionate, and maybe say, I'm so sorry. And then you felt seen, because a lot of people say they feel invisible, like they
Yeah.
have a wound and it's invisible. And I think it's such a pity society has lost that tradition of some sign. I know in Africa, where I used to live a
Mhm.
few years back, they pin a little black piece of material onto either their lapel or their sleeve. So they still have that tradition. They still
Yeah.
pin a little piece of black fabric, but for most of the world, it seems lost, that tradition.
It is. I wonder why.
Mm,
There must have been a reason.
mm,
Um, the truth though is that every day we encounter people and we have no idea what happened to them.
mm,
It's so easy to it's so easy to like judge somebody who like cuts you off when they're driving, or has a nasty, gives a nasty remark in the supermarket, or or whatever. And the truth is, like, we have no idea what people are going through,
mm,
ever. So you can, I mean, that's like one of the things, it took me a long time to get to the place where, I stopped being, this is going to sound bad, but like I stopped being obsessed with my own pain and was able to start like really looking outward. But I think that is one of the lessons that grief, and loss provides is, an understanding of how deep that sorrow can get. And then, understanding that, hey, I'm not alone in this. There's other people out there. You don't know what they're going through, and having compassion for strangers, and giving people the benefit of the doubt. It's so hard, and I don't do this like 100%, of course. But yeah, there's lessons there. We don't have those armbands. We don't have those signals. And so you sort of need to, just sort of be open to the idea that, someone might be dealing with something very, very difficult.
Yeah, just have compassion anyway. I like that very much, Michael. Well said. And then, so now I want to talk about you say that you've been on a personal, professional, and spiritual growth journey, that this is like your lifelong vision that you have for your life. And you told me also that recently you've been going through a divorce. So I know divorce causes grief. So can you talk a little bit about the spiritual journey and how it helped you with, and what the two different griefs are? So there's a few components to what I'd like you to talk about, but you can talk about it in the order that makes sense for you, because this is your story after all.
Yeah. I really appreciate the question. What's coming up for me is, so with my divorce, I got divorced last year, in May. Me and my ex-wife, we have two very young children. And so it's the divorce, but then it's also like the custody and it's the co-parenting. And I was just dealing with the pain of the loss of the family. And then on top of it, a lot of anger around, how everything went down and what had happened after the divorce, especially as it related to my two kids. And what's interesting about, if I were to look at the two losses next to each other, they're completely different. One of them I had a say in, the other one, it just happened. One of them, it seemed like there was maybe some negotiation, and so perhaps a little bit harder to accept. And the other one, it was very final, immediate. But one other thing I'm thinking of as it refers to like growth is that there was a real pressure and a real like need for me to grow when it came to the divorce, because the kids were on the line, so to speak. I couldn't be angry. I couldn't be bitter, or what's the word is it's the word when somebody doesn't forgive and then they hold on to the thing and then it eats them alive. It's related to bitterness, but I couldn't let that happen because of my kids, because of my children. I needed to show up as the best version of myself. And I also needed to co-parent, with my ex. And so there was like this push, there was this pressure to evolve, to accept, to, figure, just figure something out, figure out a way to make it work, versus with my sister passing, I didn't feel like there was really that at all. I wanted to find acceptance so I could get on with my life, so I could, do the things that I needed to do. I mean, when I say get on with my life, I mean, follow like the months following my sister's death, like I couldn't work more than 2 hours a day without just like being completely exhausted, and so it's like that needed to, that really needed to change. But yeah, I mean, I think one of the big differences is it was, the way that they're similar though is that it was a journey of acceptance. It was a journey of, finding this new reality, or, this new world. I mean, it was the same world, but it just appeared so new, so different. And finding acceptance there. There was this thought that just like kept on going through my head, both when I lost my sister and through the divorce, which was like, it shouldn't be this way. Like something's not right, like something went wrong. And that was, it was just like a voice just wouldn't, it would just constantly come back over and over and over again. And, I think time is like the biggest, is probably the biggest help. But, for me, I found a process with the divorce that really helped me, which was a process of letting go, of letting go of that idea that there's something wrong, of letting go, the anger. I would feel the anger and let go of it. I would feel the grief. I would let go of it. And by following this process, I was able to really, find that acceptance, and it was really strange. The other day, I was playing with my kids, and they were over, and I realized, after like a couple of days after the week was over, I realized, I'm like, wow, like I was so present with them, the entire time. And when they weren't there, I was with my girlfriend, and I was present then, and we were having a great time together. And I was just thinking to myself, like, oh my gosh, like how long has it been? Because before, when I would see my kids, I'd think to myself, oh, I can't believe I don't have you guys full time. I can't believe I'm a part-time dad. And then when I was away from the kids, I'd be thinking, oh my gosh, I can't believe I don't have kids. And it was just really nonstop. And so, for that to be, for me to find peace around that was a really big thing. And the process I'm talking about, it's not something that I invented. It was something that I found through this book, Letting Go by David Hawkins.
Mm-hmm.
And you guys, if you want to read the book, that's great. There's also like a lot of videos, online, which talk about the process. And it's actually something I talked to my daughter about, because she's young, and she has, the world, her skills to deal with the world. Like, it's funny. I feel like everybody looks at kids and their problems as like really small problems, but those are the big problems for them, because they don't have that experience of overcoming them. And so I try to give her some tools, and this letting go thing is one of the big things that we talk about, is stepping into your emotions rather than fighting them. And it's really changed the way that I relate to the world in general, because instead of feeling like I'm sad one day and it shouldn't be that way, instead of feeling like, oh, I'm angry and I shouldn't be angry, it's really accepting all of it, and it's really just stepping in to all of it. And, hanging out with that sadness, hanging out with that anger, as I would, just like hang out with, you can't see her right now, but my dog on the couch, and, just spending the time with it. And eventually, it goes away. But it seems like it persists longer if you fight it.
Mm-hmm. Wow. So that sounds like an amazing book. And so you were able to let go of your grief through your divorce. And did that help? Did the book help you as well with your grief with your sister, or did that come later?
It came later. Yeah, it was this book, Letting Go. There's also another amazing book I'd recommend. It's called Radical Acceptance by Tara Brach. So the two of them in tandem really, really helped me. Um, yeah, it came later, but I realized, like looking back on it, I mean, I wish I had those tools when I was going through the grief of losing my sister.
Mm,
Um, I mean, time helps I mean, they say time heals all wounds, but I
mm,
don't think that's really true, because I know people who've lost other people, and they hold on to that grief and they identify with that grief. And it's almost like they're trying to, I don't know. I feel like they perpetuate it. And so I think these
yeah,
tools are really good to share to people with
yeah,
people.
yeah. And so, Michael, do you have a gift for the audience?
I do. So yes, it was such an influential book. I wanted to gift it. I was actually looking at the prices and the shipping and everything. I'm gonna gift it to 10 people, who wanna read the book. So if you'd like that, you can just shoot me an email, and in the subject line, put "letting go." Just put your address, and for the first 10 people, I'll ship you guys out the book. You'll save yourself a couple of bucks on that, and I'll just say a little prayer over it before I send it out, and wishing you the best on your journey.
Oh, that's a beautiful gift. That's very generous. Thank you, Michael. And then just before we wrap up, could you talk a little bit about forgiveness? Because you've got a lovely journey that you went on that you started to tell me about. So I'd love for people to hear how forgiveness came about for you.
Well, one thing I'd like to say, and this is so I started going deep into forgiveness about probably around this time last year, and it's taken about a year for me to forgive certain things. One of the biggest things that I've learned is that just wanting to forgive is a great first step. A lot of times people are saying, like, there's no way. And I was here, in this, thinking like, there's no way I can forgive this, no way, absolutely not, and just wanting to forgive can be like, just like that first little crack that you have, and the opening, because forgiveness is not about really the other person. The forgiveness is about yourself.
Mm,
I was speaking to this person the other day, and he was telling me about how in his religion it's all about keeping your heart clean. You want a clean heart always. And I feel like when you don't forgive, when you're holding on to anger, at someone or the world or God, um, you're soiling, your heart. And so the first step is just wanting to forgive. You're doing it for yourself. And what I found is that it was this process, this letting go process, this acceptance process that allowed me to forgive, where I would, if I felt, um, say I was just like in the shower, and I, remembered something, and it really, really got me angry. I would sort of breathe in, step into the anger. I'd hang out with it. I would breathe, and then I would breathe it away, and I'd let go of it. And then I would just say to I would just say, like, I forgive you, even this I forgive. And I started mostly I was doing this about my ex-wife. And and then what happened, uh, and then what happened was, I would do it like multiple times a day, because there's so much there and so much to get through. And then I started noticing that, hey, I would be angry about, the person who, something had happened at work or whatever. And then I'm like, oh, I can use this for that. And then I noticed that I could use it for times that I was upset with myself, and I could let go and I can forgive myself.
Mm. Wow,
And
Michael, that is incredible. Yeah. Yeah.
it's there's a freedom with letting go of judgment, and yeah, that's really it, so it's a daily practice. I in the mornings, not every morning, but maybe about 90%, I say the Lord's Prayer.
Mm-hmm.
And in the Lord's Prayer, I just find it fascinating. It's like what got included in it, and what didn't get included in it. Like, it's like, give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. And it's like forgiveness is right next to eating on a daily basis, and daily bread. I mean, yeah, who knows how deep that one goes and what it really means, but forgiving, we need forgiveness from God, and then we need to forgive others every single day. And so it is a daily practice. And that's it.
That's amazing, Michael. That's amazing. So you start off being angry, you breathe, and then you breathe it away from you, and then you forgive the person, and then you forgive yourself. And you do this continually. As things rise up, you breathe, go into the emotion, sit with it a bit, and then you breathe it away and let it go. It sounds like waves coming in and going out, and
Yeah.
waves coming in and going out, and you get into the habit of doing it, I think.
Yeah, well, I mean, this world gives us maybe like the opportunity to practice it like 10, 20 times a day, depending on your day. But
Yeah.
it's forgiveness, but it's also it's very much acceptance. It's acceptance of, and sometimes, like, sometimes maybe the words that I'm using resonate with you, or maybe for you it's a different word.
Mm.
And that's like, I think that's something to explore,
Mm.
is, like the because like all these teachers, they talk about the same things, from different angles. And maybe it takes a different word for it to really resonate, with you.
Mm.
But it's all around the same thing. It's all around, accepting what is going on. It's accepting what has happened. And and if you fight against your emotion, you're invalidating it. You're saying, to yourself, like, I don't, oh, I shouldn't feel this way. And that's not it. It's not about that at all. If you have grief, like experience it, like, it's an emotion, and live it, like, spend some time with it.
Mm.
And that, I think that is I feel like that is a respectful way of dealing with it. I think it's disrespectful to invalidate your emotions, to say implicitly or unconsciously that, I shouldn't feel this way, or, this is bad, this is wrong. when you stay with your emotions, when you experience them, you're not trying to get to the end where it's gone. You're just letting it happen the way that it's going to happen.
And you've brought it full circle, because you started out by saying that you never know what someone is going through. So you have compassion for them without understanding their journey, but realizing maybe things are not great in their lives, and they are being the way they are because they're not coping with whatever is happening. But then to have compassion with yourself too. So you're bringing it back to compassion. Just have compassion. Yeah. With others and with yourself. Yeah. That's amazing. Thank you, Michael. Thank you so much for spending this time with us and talking us through divorce and grief and the differences between them. And I think loss is loss. Just because the person is not here on the planet anymore or not in your life anymore, it's still a loss, and it hurts. It causes hurt.
Yeah.
And thank you for your beautiful gift, and thank you for your lovely talk about the emotions.
Yeah, no, I've enjoyed sharing this with everyone, and I hope it helps. I hope it helps. I sincerely hope it helps people, and that you guys can find something here that's useful for you and to help you on the journey that you're on. It gets better.
Yeah, it does. It does. It takes time, as you said, but it does get better.
Yeah.
Right, everybody, don't forget to tune in for the next episode where we have another brilliant expert speaker lined up for you. But we'll leave it there for now. Thank you, Michael. Bye.
Thank you, Sadie. Take care.